Hi, I'm Karen Chabot. I'm going to teach you a very ancient, beautiful, powerful sacred therapy called Shirodhara. It's from India. 5,000 years ago they did this therapy. Great seers innovated it as part of a ritual called Panchakarma. And it is my great honor to share this with you. It's one of my favorite therapies to give. I'd like to show you the Shirodhara system. It's over here. I have 2 copper pitchers. They're 100% copper. And the Shirodhara pot with the brass valve. And really, ideally, the oil should flow through 3 metals, first silver, then copper, and then brass. So I do have some silver pitchers that I store the oil in. And here's the oil that I use. I use Banyan's sesame oil and sunflower oil, and I also use their Shirodhara oil. It's organic. I'll be making my own Shirodhara oil shortly and selling it on my website. This little thing is a barbecue skewer, and I use it to clean out the Shirodhara pot. I turn the valve down, and then I find the little hole and I put it through, and it helps to remove anything that might have clogged in there. It's really important you have a thick, smooth stream unclogged. And then I have this little thing. It's an incense burner, easy to find anywhere, and I put it in the pitcher when the oil is flowing from the plastic, and it stops the noise. Because you don't want to have any noise during Shirodhara. You want it to be as silent as possible so the client can have the most inward experience. Okay, what else can I show you? I have a little Shirodhara pot that I used back in 1997 when I first started. This is for beginners, and it really helped me, feel more confident with Shirodhara and how my clients would react. I was just doing massage therapy, and then I added this 2-minute Shirodhara, and everyone loved it. So I want to show this to you in case you feel intimidated by this big, huge system. It's really not that intimidating. It's very easy once you get it, but this is a good way to start. It has a little hole at the bottom. It's 100% copper, and it has little symbols of Ganesha and peace and the Om sign, and it's on my website if you want to buy it. And this is what I store it in, just to keep the oil from spilling out. And then the oil falls here. I sit like this, and the oil flows over my client's forehead and into this little bowl, and then I heat the bowl up in my heating unit where my hot stones are, and it keeps the oil warm, and I might use this for the rest of the abhyanga or the oil massage. So I'll put this over here. We don't need this anymore. Actually, would you hold that? Put it somewhere there. And let me show you around the room. I have the stones, because this is actually sacred stone therapy Shirodhara. Here are warm stones that I use, and I place them in and around and on top of the body. The water's about 125 degrees. And this is the belly stone. And I'll show you the rest of the stones when I do the layout, actually. This is the cold water bowl that I use in case the stones get too hot. I use some crystals, rose quartz and blue lapis, amethyst, and a raw ruby. Sometimes I'll put a cold stone in the Shirodhara pot in case the oil's too hot and I can't cool it down fast enough. These actually substantially cool the oil down. And if my oil's too cold, I'll put one of these stones in the pot. And this is what I put on my clients when they're finished. And I'll be selling these on my website shortly. This is for their head, because after the Shirodhara, they really shouldn't shampoo. They should just put this over their head, and this way they won't catch a cold, and the oil can sink deeper in, and the healing can continue after the therapy. I use a lemon on the soles of the feet, and I put a little salt over it, like this. And then I apply it to my client's feet before the session begins, and that does a systemic detoxification. It draws out impurities through the feet. And I have several different types of oils I use here. This is a neem oil, N-E-E-M, and it's cut with sesame, and there's an amethyst crystal in it. This one is sunflower organic, and there's also an amethyst crystal in it, which helps remove pain in the body. And this is Mahanarayana oil, great for joint pain and arthritis. And this one is castor oil I use on the feet and the belly, and all of them have an amethyst crystal in them. This is called Supernasya, and I'll apply 5 drops in each nostril. And it's a wonderful ancient therapy that has so many benefits, especially TMJ, headaches. It helps improve intelligence, memory, mental clarity, stiff neck. It helps brighten the eyes. And the best thing of all is it clears the sinuses, so anybody with chronic sinus condition, this Nasya therapy can really help remove chronic sinus conditions. And ear trouble too. And I'm going to use this sunflower oil in the ears for Karnapurna, and I will demonstrate that. Karnapurna is a powerful therapy that goes really well with Shirodhara. So those 3 therapies I'm going to show you today: Shirodhara therapy, Karnapurna, and the Nasya therapy. So it's all involving the head, nose, ears, and head. So let's move on. I want to show you my biomat. This is an amethyst biomat, and this also I sell on my website. This whole thing is filled with amethyst. You can see right here a little window here of the tiny crushed amethyst. How are you feeling?
Wonderful.
Good. Okay, so now I'm going to take Jacquelina off the biomat and roll it up, and then we'll begin the Shirodhara therapy next. I like to create a sacred space for my client by creating a heart here with Rudraksha beads. And Rudraksha is something that comes from India. I'm inviting Jacquelina's angels and devatas, and the 4 archangels, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, and Michael. I invite the archangel for the mineral kingdom, Jeremiah, to bless each stone and crystal. I invite any other supreme being from the family of 100% light that wish to be here on behalf of Jacqueline and her healing. Thank you for holding a space for her to find radiant health, inner peace, and happiness. And thank you for using me as a vessel of light and healing. So be it. The first thing I'm going to do with Jacquelina is the stone layout. So this is what I call the grandpa stone, and it's warm. I might dip it again in the cold water. It's a little too warm for Jacquelina, or for anybody, because it's a very sensitive place. The sacrum is probably the most heat-sensitive place on the body, believe it or not. Is this temperature okay for you? Okay. If you just lift up. And this is the grandma stone. And it might be a little, do you have your pants on. Yeah, this might be a little warm, but she has her pants on, so I can put the stone over the pants. And I think Grandma stone should be round, and it looks female to me, and the other one looked more masculine. So here we go with the layout of Grandma. This helps to ground the lower region of her body where the dosha vata lives, and vata is the ether and air element in the body. It's a Sanskrit word. It's really a biological principle that in particular means what blows and what moves, and it's located right here. So if we put a stone here, it helps to ground that energy in her body and helps her to stay present during the therapy. And this is the hand stone, and I can't really dip these. It's a beautiful stone. I like to put these right under her hand and pull the shoulder down. And this one's a little warm, so I'm going to put her hand over the sheet in this instant. Sometimes if it's not warm, that I can put the hand directly on the stone. So these are the erector spinae stones. They're in the shape of the muscles that run along the spine, right here. So I'm going to place these under her spine, and I'm first going to ask her arms about the temperature. Is this temperature okay? Should I dip them in cold water? A little warm for her, so I'm going to dip them in the cold water. How is that?
That's good.
Okay. So notice when I ask about the temperature of a stone, I never suggest anything like, is it too hot or something like that. I say, how is the temperature? Can you do the fish pose? Do you know how to do the fish? It's like arching up.
Like
Yeah,
this?
yeah. Perfect, and come back down. I have a rose quartz that I have not warmed in the heater, but it's room temperature, and I'm going to place it on the heart marma. I have a blue lapis that's great for the throat chakra. So this will help people to express what they need to express. And the rose quartz helps to remind them how precious they are. And these are the shoulder and neck stones, and I might need to dip them in cold water. Let's ask Jacqueline about the temperature. Should I dip them? Or
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to use an amethyst terminated crystal, and this is the terminated end, the point here. It was in the geode, like this originally. You see my crystal geode over there? And then it was pulled out like that, and this is the pointed part of the crystal naturally cut, and the energy flows in this direction. So if you point it like that, you're actually getting a direction of flow right through the tip. And I want to activate the earth flow in her body called apanavayu. And when I place the crystal in that direction, it helps to activate that earth quality, the earth energy, and helps her feel connected to the earth. And this is a 10-pound sandbag, and I sell these on my website too. They're hard to find. This helps to ground the femurs into her hip socket, which is another technique for grounding the ether and air elements in her so she can stay really present during the therapy. And the next thing I'm going to do for Jacqueline is to apply the lemon and the salt to her feet. I've been warming the lemon up on a stone here, and I'm going to salt this up. Salt actually helps purify as well. And I'm going in circular motions. Whenever you make circles on the body, you're helping open energy channels and doorways for more light, more energy to come into the body. Circles and infinity signs and symbols. And there's so many doorways on the feet. We really want to clear anything that might be here that is unwanted. This is called terminal clearance. Because the feet are one of the 5 great terminal ends in the body. Now I'm going to apply castor oil on her feet. And the castor oil is fantastic. It's so emollient, and it also helps to draw out systemic inflammation. It's very cooling, and it also helps with any eye problems. Even though the feet aren't physically connected to the eyes, there is an energetic connection when you apply castor oil to the feet. It helps with the eyes and vision. And this is great for calluses or dried skin, even plantar warts. And the direction I'm pulling is toward the toes for terminal clearance, and it also helps draw the energy into her feet so she can be grounded. Shirodhara is so much upward energy in itself. The flow of oil on the head helps people to transcend. So this preparation I'm doing is helping her to stay grounded, because some people can actually transcend too much and then it's hard to bring them back to their body. And some people are already just too much in their head and there's too much spaciness going on with them, that this Shirodhara therapy without all these grounding techniques would actually throw them back into an imbalanced state of health. So we're working on drawing energy down, activating Apanavayu, the earth energy, and doing terminal clearance. So I'm going to apply some toe stones. How is this temperature? Good. Okay. So I'm alternating left to right, or you could go right to left. And this helps to balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And this also helps to open all the meridians in the body, because the meridians begin and end here at the toes. And all disease begins when there are blockages in the body. So this helps to unblock anything that might be blocked. It helps to open all the doors in the body. There. I have these little booties that they're 100% cotton, and they've been heating on the oil heater, the radiator there, and I'm applying them to her feet to make her feel warm and cozy. As if the feet are cold, the whole body will remain contracted. So it's really important to get the feet to be warm and comfortable so the body can start to relax. Now I'm going to disinfect my hands, and I'm using the other half of the lemon. This is the best disinfectant, better than that stuff you can buy at, Walmart or any drugstore, those gels. This really works wonderful. I'm going to remove 4 stones to begin to activate the marmas in her head. So the first thing I do is begin with the craniosacral hold, or some people call it the occipital hold. And this helps me to connect with my client. My fingers are softly between the occipital ridge and the first cervical vertebrae, and she's a really good receiver, so she's just letting go and letting her head sink into my hands. But if she wasn't, and she was new and nervous, she might be holding her head up. And then I know that there's no trust, and no healing can happen without trust. So I would say something like this: if she didn't trust me and she was there was tension in her head, I would say, Jacqueline, would you soften your tongue and let your tongue fall away from the front of your teeth? And allow your jaw to be soft. And let your head and the whole body sink into the table. And after a few suggestions like that, if they're still holding their head, then there's nothing really you can do. You've done your best, but Jacqueline here is really letting me have her head, so there's a beautiful trust between us. And this way I know that the Shirodhara is going to be really 100% powerful for her. I'm applying the neem oil to her face. It's warm from the heater, and neem oil is sort of a green color, and it's kind of smelly, and I like to put some nice essential oils in it to take that smell away. I put in, I think I put in lang-a-lang this time. I think last time I used grapefruit. One of the citrus essential oils works wonderful. And I'm just lubricating her face, and I'm going to begin activating the marmas on her face to prepare her for the Shirodhara. This is a marma that helps connect the head to the heart when making a decision. And I have a firm pressure, and I'm moving at the pace an ant would walk. And I'm moving all the way through the terminal ends here. The ears are one of the 5 great terminal ends. And we would do that twice. And then I move up to the next marma, and this one helps with mental clarity. These 2 places are also reproductive, so they can also help balance the reproductive organs. I'm activating by pressing, sending my intention of peace and health into her body, and then moving again at the pace an ant would walk, with firm pressure, and out to the ears. And then I'm making a mudra here by connecting my thumbs and sending my energy down to her feet, activating that Apanavayu again, and I'm pressing the respiratory marmas in her face, and I'm balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain by going side to side, right to left with each finger. And these are the air fingers in the body, so they're perfect for the respiratory marmas on the face. And then I'm going to just drag slowly at the pace an ant would walk and clear out to the ears. And I place the sides of my thumbs on the sides of her nose, not blocking off her breathing though. Very, very important to not block off the breathing because they'll start to panic. And I'm pressing down toward the table and now pressing side to side. And she's just allowing me to move her head, and this helps trigger synovial fluid into the cervical spine, relaxes the neck, helps with sinus conditions. It just feels wonderful. And this is Shankamarma, a great place for people who have inflammations, overthinking, too much computers. And this is the liver marma, and this is a spleen marma. Again, I'm making the mudra, activating the marmas and shooting the energy down to the feet, and then all 3 fingers under the eyebrow bone. This will help balance the entire body, and it also helps to stimulate melatonin and serotonin from the pineal gland. Here is Ajna chakra, and this one is the 3rd eye, and I'm moving clockwise slowly to help open the 3rd eye. And then I'm moving to Brahma marma, which is right where the hairline is, and it's 4 fingers, her 4 fingers from Ajna. And for example, I know her hands are about the same size as mine, so I would put my 4 fingers on her forehead, and at the end, right here, would be where the Brahma marma would be. And then the next marma would be 4 fingers right in the center of the head, right here. This one's called Adipati. This is the crown chakra, and I'm moving in a clockwise direction, sending good intention, sending my prana, my breath into her being. And then again, 4 fingers more is the Shiva marma. And this one's pretty easy to find. Most people have a little indent at the top of the head there. You can feel like a little soft spot at the... It's right here where my ponytail is. That's the Shiva marma. And I'm moving clockwise again. And then I'm going to just give her a little head massage and activate and massage all the parts of her scalp. So many muscles in here that we use from thinking and thinking all day long. And I'm going to apply some sunflower oil to the décolleté. And the way I do that is I anoint with the oil and then I chase the oil with my hand like this. So it feels like the oil is coming from the palm of my hand to the client if they don't see the bottle. And I'm going to turn her head to the right and just open up the areas in her neck to prepare her for the Shirodhara. Good. And I'm pressing along the cervical spine now, pulling upward. Decompressing anything that might be in the cervical spine. And then compression down on the shoulders. And I'm going to send a violet flame through my mind's eye into her thymus gland. And I send that color with my breath on the exhale. Now she's ready for Karna Purna. So I'm going to turn her head to the right, and the ear is like an infant curled up in the fetus position, and it represents the entire body. And this is the spine along the inside of the ear. This would be the cervical spine and the thoracic and the sacral and lumbar. And I'm going to make a little lip here so that I can put the oil in and it will stay like a little pool, like a little well. And the oil should be warm. Should be a little warmer, but now there's a place on the ear that you would apply the oil called Udharva Marma, and that's right here on everyone. And a lot of people pierce their ears there. So I'm going to let the oil flow right over that point, but first I'm going to ask her if the temperature is okay. How's the temperature?
Good.
Good. And I'm going to let that flow in. Try to avoid any dripping. Now her experience is like feeling like she's underwater here, and she'll hear swoosh, 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 depending on how fast I move my hands. So you want to go slowly and honor her experience. You want to soften the cartilage as you massage her. And notice I've got my arms open and my heart is open, and I'm not, this wouldn't be the correct way. This would be how you want to do this, with 2 hands always on the ears. And this will help to soften any earwax, hardened earwax, trapped earwax, and help to bring the earwax out, cleans the ears out pretty good, and helps with memory, and it also helps to balance the bones in the head. It's like one of the best cranial sacral treatments you can do. It's also extremely relaxing and helps to sedate the central nervous system. Now, she's going to hear glub, glub, glub as it comes out of her ear. Let me know when it's all out. It's all out. Sometimes you can ask your client to wiggle their jaw, or you can pull the ear down a little bit, and then it will pop out. And then you can also do a suction with your hand, and then pull it. You know, get the whole ear sucked into your palm, and then pull it, and the oil will come out. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and I already know the temperature's okay. So you might tell your client that over the next few days they would use a Q-tip and put it on the outside of the ear to remove any excess earwax that might have come out. Because like dissolves like, and oil is very much like earwax. So this will help dissolve the earwax. It helps to lubricate the canal inside the ear so that things can flow out more effortlessly. I use the tissue to blot her ear, and I do this spider hold. I call it a spider hold, so that when she turns her head over to the other side, my hand's not flat, because if it's flat, the oil's not going to drain out. You need to create a space for the oil to drain into.
That was quick.
That was quick? That was quick. It came right out. Okay. Now I'm removing the sandbag, and can you move up the table? I'm going to do the nausea therapy on her. And she'll only be here for another 5 minutes, then she'll go right back to where her stones are. So I like to make a little piggy nose here to open up the nostrils. And I'm applying 5 drops for 5 elements that exist around the nostrils. This is earth, fire, air, water, ether. Earth, fire, air, water, ether. And they move. The motion around the nostrils goes like this, so I followed that direction as I was applying the nausea. So take a sniff in, deep sniff. Exhale. Good. I was pressing the respiratory points on the sides of her nose. Beautiful. And now I'm going to do a suction that will help bring this deeper into the brain. Can you inhale? Excellent. And let that drain downward. Now this will help relieve all sinus conditions, opens the sinuses right up. There's a lot of eucalyptus and holy basil in this. Helps to brighten the eyes, increase memory and intelligence, relieves headaches, sedates the central nervous system, cures insomnia. It's just an amazing therapy. Everybody should do nausea every day, at least once a day. And they really have to be at this angle, otherwise the oil could go down the throat. So the client really needs to be at a 90-degree angle. How do you feel? Do you think it's gone into your sinuses? Yeah? Okay, good. So come back onto the table. Actually, just scoot up a little bit. You want to make sure your client's right at the edge of the table, maybe even a little bit out, a little off the table. Just right there is good. And now she is ready for the flow of oil. We're going to let the oil flow over her third eye, which is right here. It's very important to be aware of where your client's third eye is, and it's right about there on her. Sometimes there's an indent. Hers doesn't have an indent, but I can see clearly hers is right there. And the oil should flow right on top of that. And we're going to go side to side as well in a slow, slow pace. At the pace an ant would walk is how you'd want to go across the forehead. So we're going to go in this direction, across, and then back. And we're also going to follow the hairline. And this will help remove negative electrical impulses that accumulate at the skull from stress. You can actually see these with the right equipment right along the hairline. And Shirodhara is one of the only therapies that helps to remove and disperse the negative electrical impulses that accumulate here from stress. The only other thing I can think of is a mother's hand going like this and sweeping over the forehead. That helps to also disperse the negative electrical impulses. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is get that plastic funnel. You're going to have you lift your head, place this under. Okay. Now she has a lot of hair, and if you just let the hair like this, it's going to get all messy and the oil's going to go everywhere. So I'm going to wrap her hair up in an elastic band. And I have this divine rose water. It just smells so wonderful. And I'm going to let this fall like rain on her face, and it's going to smell wonderful for her, refresh her, and also it's going to dampen this tissue. My hands are a little slippery. A couple for me. And now I'm going to fold this 3 ways. So it's about that size. And I'm placing it right over her eyes. And as I do, I apply some pressure, and I'm closing off her ears, so her eyes and her ears are closed off. And now she's beginning to go inward. Her senses are not outward. She's beginning to soften and relax and find that deep inner peace. And when the eyes are still, the mind is still. And when the earth eyes are closed off, the third eye can open easier. Now I'm going to apply the shoulder neck stones to help support her neck. Now she's ready for the Shirodhara, so I'm bringing over the equipment to the table, taking these lids off, and the oil is comfortable. It's about room temperature, a little warmer. This is the organic sunflower oil. It's a great base oil, and I'm putting it in the pot. It's really nice to put just half of the oil in, just in case that you need to cool it off. Then you have some room. Now I actually need a little more oil. Now this is a concentrated organic Shirodhara oil. It has some wonderful ingredients in here, and this is actually medicated with amazing Briarangraj, Brahmi, Ashwagandha, skullcap, Shatavari, and this will penetrate through the subcutaneous layers of the head and go right past the blood-brain barrier and help to rebalance all the neurochemicals in the brain and help her to have a happy mood and peace and tranquility and more coherent thinking. It's really important to know your heater. I keep my heater between 0 and 1. And I hardly ever move it from there. And then I know that it will remain a stable, steady temperature. Now, I'm going to ask my client about the temperature of the oil. This is really important to do. It's sort of a disclaimer for you, because if it's too warm, then you could say, well, you did feel it, because everyone has a different, tolerance for temperature. How's that temperature, Jacqueline?
That's good.
Okay, good. And you can just wipe your hands on the stone. So what temperature you think is good may not be a good temperature for your client. And I pour this into the pot first before I bring the pot to the client. Now you want this to be a rejuvenating therapy. There are two types of Shirodhara therapies, detoxifying and rejuvenating. We're doing a rejuvenating treatment for Jacqueline, and a rejuvenating would be anywhere shorter distance from thumb to pinky. So if it was any higher than right here, it would be detoxifying. So this is really a nice rejuvenating. The shorter and closer it is, the more rejuvenating. The thicker the stream, the more rejuvenating. So we're going to begin the flow. Are you comfortable, Jacqueline? Okay. I usually ask my clients not to speak during the therapy. This is supposed to be a silent therapy. And we don't have any music. And I'm putting this little incense burner right in here to help with any noise if the oil drips to into the bottom of the pitcher. So we're going to begin the flow of oil. And I begin the flow center. You can begin anywhere really, but I'm going to begin center today and slowly move it to the third eye. By adjusting the valve, I've got the oil right where I want it to be, and now I'm going to move slowly at the pace an ant would walk across the forehead. Now I sense into my client, and if I feel that they're not relaxing, then I'll continue moving side to side. But if I sense they're really relaxed and let go, then I can hold it steady over the third eye. So that means this therapy is very intuitive. You need to be really tuned in to your client. And notice subtle nuances like the breathing patterns change, any twitching, if their eyes are blinking under the tissue, if their jaw's relaxed. Just have to really tune in to what's going on with your client. And notice I have two hands on the pot above me. Not one hand. You really need to have two hands because your energy is going into this as well, and you want your complete focus on the pot, on the client, on the temperature of the oil, on the pace that you're moving it, and you're also watching the pot inside to see when you need to change the oil again, because you never want to get to the place where there's no oil left and then there's a dripping phase and then you have to hurry and scurry to get more oil in. You really have to be aware of how much oil is in the pot. And if you feel the temperature isn't warm enough, then you can put cold stones or warm, well, you would put warm stones if the temperature wasn't warm enough, or you'd put cold stones to cool it down. And I'm going to make a C around the hairline to help disperse those negative electrical impulses that have accumulated from stress. And we all have them. It's really important to go slow. If you go too fast, you can cause someone to have a serious headache, and you cause more stress for them. We're getting close to the end, so I'm going to start to change the oil out as quietly as I can. And I'm going to leave it right on her third eye for a moment. And I adjust it at the top here because this equipment has a swivel neck here. And I like it to be right on the third eye. I'm really, really picky about where I leave it because it can be really aggravating if it's not on the third eye. Now this can also act like a pendulum if anyone has ever studied pendulum therapy. If this pot just starts moving clockwise by itself, then there's a lot of activity going on in the third eye, and the third eye is wide open. If the pot starts going counterclockwise on its own, the third eye is shut down. If it's just still, then there's just not a lot of activity in that third eye. It could be blocked. It looks like it's moving clockwise with her, so she's got lots of activity and her third eye is open. It's very subtle to notice it. So I'm making it perfectly still. And then you can see the pot starts taking on its own action. It's still now. Okay, now I'm going to change the oil out. You take out, this is the first thing you do, is take out the incense stick, or holder I should say. Get the pot, the other pitcher I should say, and put this neck into the pitcher. Feel the temperature of the oil and make sure it's okay, and then you apply it, and as you apply it you move the pot because there's a lot of pressure coming in, and you don't want it to be just over the third eye because it will feel too penetrating. So you keep the pot moving as you pour the oil. It can be a little tricky, but it's doable. And then I'm going to leave this again at her third eye. And this is where it gets tricky. You have to have 6 hands to make this just right. In India, they do have 3 therapists doing the Shirodhara. So, and there's a reason for that. As you see, it can be really tricky. You can see the pot is moving it's moving clockwise. Her third eye is open. Just so subtly. And now I'm going to move it again side to side. And I'm going to leave it on the third eye and check to see the level of oil. And the temperature is starting to cool down, so I'm going to apply some hot stones, 1 hot stone. So this is a basalt lava stone, and when I put it in the pot, it will actually heat the oil up pretty good. Just don't want to block off the hole. So place it really carefully in the pot. And now if that was too hot, I would place the cold stone in the pot. We didn't use the incense holder because didn't need to. It just didn't make any dripping sounds, which was nice. So I'm resting the weight of my arms on the pot. So I'm actually pulling the pot down with the weight of my arms so I don't have to hold my arms up. Otherwise your arms will get tired. So this is actually very comfortable for me to do over a period of time. If you had to hold this pot up without the arm above it, that copper arm, then your arms would really start to tire. And if the therapist is not comfortable, there really can't be a good therapy. So this can be like a meditation for the therapist. You think about nothing else but what your client is experiencing. Is the temperature of the oil comfortable? Is the level of the oil getting close to where you have to change out the pitcher? Are you going slowly? Make sure that you're very, very aware of every little movement you make. You don't want any extra drips or noises. You want this client to have a completely inward, silent experience. So you don't even want to blow your nose or sniffle if you can help it. Getting time to clear and change out the oil. You want to make sure there's no drips on the pot above the client's head. Even one little drip, if you make if you don't aim correctly into the pot and you drip a little onto the side and then a little bit drips off the pot onto another part of the forehead, that can be very disconcerting and disturb the client's centered, balanced energy. And it's okay if it goes into the eyes a little, but you don't want it to. If you can avoid the oil going into the eyes, that would be better because it helps give your client more of a safe feeling and a peaceful experience. In India, in Ayurveda, they do what they call netrabasti, which is oil application into the eyes, and you retain the oil with the eyes open, so the oils actually nourish and soften the eyes, lubricate the eyes. So you can tell your client if you make a mistake and the oil goes in the eyes that it's actually nourishing and lubricating. It's really important the way I made that tissue threefold. If you get the tissue up too high over the eyebrows, then that tissue will actually kind of adhere to the oil, or the oil kind of gets sucked into the tissue. It's tempting for the oil to touch the tissue and then start to get the eyes all oily and messy. So you're going to keep that tissue below the eyebrow. And it looks like she's starting to really soften and sink into the treatment. So I'm going to let it stay on her third eye. And I'm just going to observe if the pot is swinging clockwise or counterclockwise, observing her breath, observing if she's relaxing. And there is activity in her third eye. It's the chakra is like a wheel, and it moves to and fro like a flower almost. And if it's muddy and stuck, it just stays in one place and the pot won't move. But if it's an active, open, healthy third eye, it's moving. It will actually take the pot and move the pot. So we can see the pot has some action here a little bit. So this is going on 30 minutes. We're going to begin to end the therapy. Make sure you never let this drip. So just as the oil starts to drain, the very last bit of it, you take the valve and turn it horizontal. Bring the pot away from your client's head. And this is when I take a warm face towel and you apply it like this, the long way, folded the long way, and the fold should be up on the chin, right over the chin. Take your finger, to mark a place for the towel, to evenly cross over the face, leaving a little space for her nose so she can breathe. You press gently onto the head and the ears. Client knows the therapy is over, but they're very fragile and sensitive right now, so you don't want to do anything abrupt or fast or make them get up quickly. Just let them stay here. It's sort of like yoga. This is like the shavasana after the yoga. She's going to rest here for a few moments. And I'm going to help her come back into her body, back into the room very gently. Make sure you shut all your burners off. And I'm going to begin to de-stone her. I'm going to take the rose quartz off.